We're live, baby. Welcome back to the Raice Brothers podcast for another episode. Today I am a bit under the weather, so we're going to probably be a little bit shorter than usual. And today is actually elections here in Israel. So we decided to maybe go into a little bit the ideas of and the values and the experience of being open to other people. Because so many times, especially when we begin to notice our differences and focus on them, it's quite easy to get really stuck into your own way, maybe even a little bit xenophobic. But we know the deep value of all the different ways and the different colors and blends, especially even within Judaism, all the wonderful different ways, the 12 tribes, etc., and so forth. So, let's go, baby.
I was actually thinking about this during our last podcast when we were talking about the neshama, how we each have a part of us which is totally, perfectly pure. And I was thinking about telling over the story. I had an experience one time when I went to the Baal Shem Tov. I was only there once. I was there for like a couple of days. But I had this really incredible experience there. I think you'd call it a neshama experience, where it completely opened up for me the ability to connect to other Jews and to value other people in a way that I'd never been able to do before. And before I get to that story, I'm saying we grew up in a way where in our house, I think every person that came in was valued, and our father always respected people.
Yeah.
Everybody, no matter where he went, no matter what we did, no matter if it was in the house, out of the house, still does. He's very respectful and open to all people. So we grew up in a way of valuing people, and no matter where they come from and what they look like and what they do in life. But this experience really opened it up for me in a new way. And what happened was, this was the first time I'd been by the Baal Shem Tov. I got there on a Sunday night, and it was late. I didn't actually go into the Baal Shem Tov's, to the oil of the Baal Shem Tov. I kind of just went to sleep, and the next morning I woke up, and then I davened, and I ate breakfast, and I had mikvah, and I was finally ready to go into the Baal Shem Tov. And it's a long story. We could probably talk for a really long time about what happened when I went in there. But suffice it to say, I had this experience where I felt like I touched, or I knew, or became aware that there's a part in me through my experience talking to the Baal Shem Tov, davening to Hashem by the kever. I became aware very clearly. It was so clear. It was like a das awareness that there's a part of me that is so perfect and so pure that no matter what I've done in my life until that point, what I've done, and no matter what I will do, nothing can touch the purity of that essence of my neshama. And I walked out of the Baal Shem Tov's kever, it was a half hour, an hour later, with such clarity. And I realized, hey, if I have this part of me which is so perfect, so does everybody else.
Wow.
And this thought was so mind-blowing to me that I just started laughing. I started laughing, this laughter that you're not really allowed to laugh in this world. Like it says, like in the future, in the time of Mashiach, are be able to fill. And you said, the Gemara says, you were not allowed to fill our mouths with laughter, and I did. I just started laughing because it was such a clear awareness that we are so connected. No matter what we do, we are so connected. And it opened me up to other people in a way that for months afterwards, I came back from Mezhebush to Beit Shemesh. For months afterwards, I was so open to people. I was able to just connect to anybody. I would go over to people that I never spoke to before. I would go to shul and just start talking to anybody and connect with them because I valued them so much. And it didn't stay that way. It was a high that didn't last forever. But anytime I remind myself of this experience, I'm able to go into it again, and I'm able to remind myself that everybody has value no matter what they look like on the outside. And so we have that outside-inside thing. When you get to the inside perception, everyone's valuable.
I think that, don't cut yourself short. You do see a lot of people, and you do look at a lot of people and see, the inside and the good in them all the time. And it leaves a reshima. Obviously, we always work on things and come back down. That's huge. That's incredible. That's incredible. I know. I think I learned from you. The idea of also just going to different shuls and different people, enjoy different places. Also enjoy that. Just randomly go daven in different shuls and just look at people. Like we did. We mentioned last week the idea of just being able to see people for who they are. That's amazing that you had that experience by the Baal Shem Tov, who was the master of that, right? Like that was his thing. And even though they say that early on in life, like he was, very into the chudim and as it went on, he realized, wow, the simple beauty of a Jew is, and just what he is inside is the mamash the highest. Like you don't need to always be doing like a deep avodah or it's not always about what you're doing, as just appreciating that we are that neshama. We are always connected. And even if we disagree, and that's really the beauty, is that we can really disagree with people and have different political views and have different feelings and relate to things differently. But when we appreciate them for who they are, then we can actually talk about the issues and really appreciate our differences without having those differences being the reason for breakdown, or for those differences don't make a person wrong, don't make a person bad. They're just different ways of looking at things.
And there are definitely things that people do that are wrong. Because I was thinking about how this idea of being aware of people's essential goodness versus the Rabbi Nachman's teaching of always looking for the good points in others. And I'm not sure if they overlap. I think there is an overlap, but there's definitely also a difference. Rabbi Nachman talks about looking for the good points. You find something good in somebody else, even if you disagree with them, even if they're a negative person, but we can look for something good about that person. This is not even looking for something good about them. It's just being aware that at essence they are good. I remember one time thinking about, why do I love people so much? And what's the humanity of people that I love so much? I think deep down, every person, even the worst, you watch like a gangster movie, a criminal who's the worst, they're really the worst human being, a portrayal of someone who's so terrible they're willing to kill and steal. But there is always a human aspect of that person. There's somebody in their life that they're willing to give up of themselves for. I think that's the essential humanity of people, is that we're willing to give to someone else. We're willing to give up of ourselves for someone. We're willing to love someone. Maybe it's a criminal, it will only be his mother or his daughter or someone really close to them. But the more we are able to give to others and love others, that is really our essential humanity. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think that there are some people that are really evil, and even that humanity in them. Or I think there's like an aspect. Maybe we can. I was kind of thinking about it as the chelek Elokah, or the image of God that man is created in, and I think that in this, that there's two spaces, like you mentioned, like finding that Nekuda Taiva. Finding Nekuda Taiva, I think, is even more in the world of doing than in the world of being. Meaning, find something good that you have done, or find the ability that you can do something good in the future. Those are Nekuda Tovas that we want to find, we want to build on, saying, hey, you can do something nice, you can do something special, or you have done good Nekuda Tovas. This is about, on the level of neshama, it's the fact that I am connected, that you are a human, you are created in the image of God, and seeing that in a person, it really has nothing to do if you can actually find something good that they've done or not. Like if you don't know anybody, and you know nothing about them, but you can look at them, and with the eyes of looking at them saying, wow, you're created in the image of God, it doesn't even need a Nekuda Tova. I think there's also, Rabbi Nachman has an interesting Torah about giving techacha, right? Techacha, and how when you can give people rebuke, right? And when you give people rebuke, you can do it in a bad way that brings up all the negative side of them, or you can see the good in them. So that's a huge Torah. We're not getting into it, but the Baal Shem Tov, when he says it, he says that when you give rebuke, you have to include yourself in it. You have to be with that person. And I think that one of the aspects of that is that being connected, that there's a place that we're all connected. And if we realize, hey, we're all on this space where in truth, we really are connected. We really are one. We really are part of this whole experience. We're all on this little planet flying through space, and hey, we're all together on it. And then you say, oh, and now by the way, what you did wasn't healthy or wasn't okay, but because there's that place of connection, there's that place of you are in the image of God, we are one, we are truthfully on some level untouchable. There's something so beautiful about that even if you might be out of whack, things might be a little funky today, or you're not feeling so well, and like you feel like your system's off. But in truth, this is just one day that's out of that whack, and we can bring it back in. But when you have that deep feeling inside of like, there's something wrong with me, I am a wrong, I am, I'm not, something wrong about me. And I think that's where a lot of really evil comes from. It's interesting that even the word Ra and Tov, right? Ra comes from that. It doesn't really mean just bad. It means trua, like a shofar when you're going doo, doo, doo. It's like a breakdown of sound.
Broken or detached.
Yeah, detached, it's fragmented. And that's really what it is that in the deepest place, we're so connected. We're so one. I think that's even the Shvatim, right? That was when Hashem, when Yaakov Avinu looked at his sons, and he lost the Shekhinah on his deathbed, and he didn't have that. Right? Speaking of the end of days, right? Here we are in Israel, right? 2020, and he thought maybe there's a brokenness, maybe there's a fragmentation, maybe there's people, maybe you guys aren't all connected in the same way. And they all cried out and said, no, we're mamish all connected. We're mamish all in that place. We're all. Even though we're all different colors, and every Shevet has a different way of davening, and every Shevet has a different way of looking, and there's different cultures. It's interesting in today's world, like it's really special that we're all coming back to Eretz Yisrael, and there's so many different cultures, and it's interesting even in regards to people getting married, right? Like so it's like you grow up a certain way, and like, oh, should I marry somebody who's like me, or should I marry somebody who's different than me? And we're having really beautiful times where you have all different colors and flavors and types of couples and communities and it's like, is there any is there a stereotypical Jew? Well, yeah, I'm sure people have different stereotypes. You have the stereotypical Ashkenazi Jew, the stereotypical Sephardi Jew, but it's a lot of the way it's cool that a lot of it's breaking down. In Shul on Shabbos, I was thinking about that. Like I looked around and there was a lot of really different colors and flavors this week.
And that's what I love about our shul, the Carvel shul here in Ramat Shemesh, is that it is so different. It's so miguvan, different colors. Such a great experience. And the whole focus of our shul is like, everybody's accepted here. We love you all. I mean, this week after davening, I was having a schmooze with, there was a couple of Hasidic guys that walked in from a neighborhood not too far from here. And it turns out, by the way, did I tell you what happened? Turns out that one of them is a great grandson of Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Herman, famous from All for the Boss.
Wow. From Brooklyn.
No, from Manhattan. He lived on the Lower East Side, I believe. And I read that book, just as an aside, I read that book to my kids multiple times. I absolutely love that book. It's really fascinating. He's a fascinating person. So I met this guy. His name is Avon Shulam Steven.
Nice. And he showed up there. Is that the guy who showed up there because he was looking for a later minion, and people just sent him the kava?
I don't know.
Somebody else told me about that from shul. He's like, oh, I went to this, and the guy's like, whoa, like this shul is just, it's such a mixture, and he kind of goes, it's hugged so much. So many different, and it really is a special thing when you could just go to a place and there's no judgments. You basically feel like you carry the kolam.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of a taste of the base Mikdash is going to be a place where everyone gets together. But that's part of what I love about living in Eretz Yisrael at this time of history, where we have Jews from all over the place. And it's so much fun. It's so great to be able to experience all these different cultures and to come together. And I feel like my own Judaism has been enriched by so many different minhagim. We didn't grow up like the Kiddush for Friday night. We didn't grow up saying L'chaim, Savrim, L'chaim.
Right.
Now in my family, my kids all say L'chaim, like Kiddush. All right, so it's not how I grew up, but it adds a little bit. And there's so many different things. Like in our shul, after we say we did Hagba, V'Zor Satira, and then there's always someone starts singing
Right.
How does it go?
But all different songs. You even sing Happy Birthday. And I happen to appreciate that. I appreciate the differences. Also, on the way from here to shul, you pass by so many different shuls. One Friday night, I was on the way to shul, and I was just like, my neighbor was like, I told him, so why don't you come to Kalbach? He goes, yeah, I would. Why don't you come with me to my shul, my Sephardi shul? I was like, okay. He's like, really? I was like, yeah, why not? And it's so nice to go into a shul and to have that feeling of like, okay, I'm not sure exactly where we're up to, and we're doing different things, and we're all singing or chanting together in different styles and different flavors and different ways, and yet, like, that's okay. Like, it's okay to daven, and it's okay to serve Hashem, and it's okay to live different lives, like to really have different cultural experiences. Some things that you might grow up with thinking, wow, this is so Jewish. And then you meet somebody else and they're really Jewish and they have never experienced this. Yeah. And then obviously, with all humanity, we begin to realize the more that we open up and see other people in the world, we realize, like, why are we so focused on the differences? Like, we really, really can work together and we really can grow from our differences and appreciate the differences and enjoy so much of the differentiation. Enjoy the even the uncomfortability sometimes of being in a situation. Like, I enjoyed being in a shul, and I was using, they had Ashkenaz or Sephardi, but like, not Edut and Mizrach Sidurim there. And I was like, where am I up to, And I was like, this is really cool. Like, I've spent so many hours in different shuls, and now I'm an outsider, and that's so nice.
It is. If you're comfortable with yourself and who you are, then you're able to go into a different place and be, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to accept it. But what's also really cool, what I like about it is, it forces us to say, what's the lowest common denominator? What does bind us? It brings us down to, what's the core of Yiddishkeit? What is uniting all the different Eidot? What is more core? Okay, we all have beautiful minhagim, and it's nice. It's nice to dress a certain way if you identify with a certain group. So let's dress, be who you are. That's cool. Do your thing. Wear whatever clothes you want to wear, and do your minhagim. That's awesome. But we can't lose sight of the fact that there's certain core values of Yiddishkeit that beyond being a Litvak or a Chassid or this, you're a Yid, you're a Jew. Right. And coming back now, the Kibbutz Galuyos, like, we have to learn to value what is our essential Yiddishkeit and how do we connect to other Jews? What are our values? Torah Misinai, Shabbos, all the Ikarim, anything that's not, the other things are beautiful. And I remember hearing the Torah once from Rabbi Israel Tauber Zal, where he said, the pasuk in Hazinu says, Yatsev Gevulos Amem L'Mispar B'nei Yisrael, that Hashem divided the boundaries of the nations according to the number of B'nei Yisrael. So we know there's the number 70 nations is the number given for the nations, and then we have the 70 core souls of B'nai Yaakov, B'nai Yisrael, that went down to Mitzrayim. And Jews were sent to all in the geulah. So Hashem sent us to all different parts of the world, and we went to go spread a certain consciousness that we have to spread, a certain Torah. But what's really cool that he said is
Judeo principles.
Yeah, the Jewish principles. Which is a whole nother story to get into, but what happens is with the different minhagim. How is it that Jews go to Europe and suddenly gefilte fish is like this holy food to eat on Friday night, and then the Jews went to Morocco and then the spicy Moroccan fish is like the holiest thing, and it really is. It does become holy. Hashem, we're partners with Hashem in making things holy and lifting it up. And not only that, but culturally, Jews act and look and we behave differently, and our humor is different. In a certain sense, we were sent out to bring up sparks in the world. We're sent out. There's some good aspect in every culture in the world that we need to lift up, and we need to reconnect to Torah and how to use that to serve Hashem in a beautiful way. And so, I mean, first of all, as Americans, we grew up in America. I feel like it's a very American thing, the melting pot of learning how to appreciate others. Even though now in America, for some reason, there's such a breakdown of how. They're all talking about racism and xenophobism. Is that a word? Xenophobia. Thank you.
Maybe it is becoming a religion.
No, people are so focused on the breakdown. Growing up in America, I always felt that America was so beautiful because it was such a melting pot. Because we we had to appreciate all the
cultural diversity was like a something that we were very proud of.
Yeah, it's great. Give me your tired, your poor, your I can't remember the poem of the Statue of Liberty, but I grew up with that as such a value of all these different people are valuable and they all contribute to the fabric of society. Also, so something really interesting that I saw. There's a book about the Chafetz Chaim. I forget who wrote it. It's a fantastic book about the Chafetz Chaim. And in one of the footnotes in this book, I read that Reb Chaim Volozhin says a fantastic thing. He says that the Shechina had, in Galus, there were various stations of Galus, of Shechina and Galus. In other words, were the main center of Jewish people would live. And that's a bechina of the Shechinas and Galus. When you have the main center of Jews being a certain place, now the Shechina is there, because the Shechina is really, in a sense, the amalgamation of Jewish souls. So he said this in the beginning of the 1800s. He said, the United States of America is going to be the last station of the Galus and Shechina before Kibbutz Galus, before Mashiach's time. And we see nowadays that America is, before Eretz Yisrael. Now that Eretz Yisrael is really becoming the greatest center of Judaism, but America was for the last however many years since the war. And so what is it? What is the value, in keeping with the Reb Zriel Tauber's idea, that wherever we go, we need to take something from that culture, or whether it's food or a humor or a way of life or a style of dress. We need to take that and use it and bring it in to serve Hashem. Use it as a minhag and make it holy. So what about America is holy? And I believe it's this. In order to prepare us for Kibbutz Goliath, we have to learn how to value others. We have to learn how to be a melting pot, how to appreciate other people's cultures and way of life. And now that we're coming back to America, I feel like us American Jews are such an important part of Kibbutz Goliath, because Israel's a crazy place. We all live here. Everyone's butting heads. And it's election season now, and everyone's yelling at each other, and you're wrong, and you're wrong. It's a crazy place to live. But we need to have that nitzatz of America, that beautiful nitzatz of America of cultural tolerance and listening to one another and appreciating it's a cultural diversity. We need to bring that here. That's like a spark that has to be lifted up.
Yeah.
And maybe, this is a thought that just popped into my head, maybe the reason why they're having that breakdown in America now is, and we thought it was getting better. I felt like when we were growing up, there always was issues, there was always issues of race, and there was always issues between different religions, but it was getting better and better. Right. And I felt like it was always getting better, and how the America that we lived in was way better than the America our parents grew up in.
Sure.
And suddenly nowadays it feels like it's breaking down like crazy.
It's blown the top off, and it's all just crazy.
And maybe like we pulled that nitzos out of there, and now we're bringing it home.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
I don't know.
That's really powerful. I want a few interesting things. One is in Israel, like, even though usually the politics is like such a feisty thing, I feel like because we've had 3 rounds of politics, a lot of people are just like so jaded. They're like, dude, seriously? Like, I'm going to argue with you? Like, I don't even care anymore. Like, this is just ridiculous. Like,
I'm so burnt out.
They're so burnt from the whole thing. And the other thing that I was thinking, and we've definitely spoken about this many times, is there's like a geulah when you come out of Mitzrayim and you were a slave and you're like, Hashem, you're one. And we get the Torah on Sinai. But how deep does that go? How deep does that Jewishness go? And so it goes in. So I guess on the first level, it comes in as deep as your head. And then you have to bring it from your head into your heart. And then your heart, you got to bring it into like your guts. But when your Judaism is mamish like a piece of potato kugel, that's like you brought it all the way down from like, the highest, like, ikrim, that now like you can eat a piece of potato kugel and it's cultural, and it's geulah. It's like dripping with Jewishness. It's like, in a way, it so to speak, gets seeped all the way through. Like, you can do whatever you want, but like you can't get away from it. You can run, you can hide, but you're just a Jew through and through. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really beautiful. And even like in habits and quirks and funny mannerisms, and you'll see that among Jews. I remember my Rebbe, Rav Belsky, used to talk about how there was this girl who was writing about how during the war, when she was hiding with a non-Jewish family, the Jews that were hiding among the families, pretending to be non-Jews, had to be careful of certain mannerisms. She was like, I think when you walk through the door, into the house, like you can't just step around the dog on the step. You got to kick the dog to the side on the step, or like, if she was caught brushing the crumbs into the middle of the table, because it's a Jewish thing to save crumbs, right? And many people, they haven't been used to as kids. You always get the crumbs on a spoon from the challah, Friday night. But not that you don't waste. We don't waste anything. Even if you're going to throw it out, even if you have, Baruch Hashem, we live in so much abundance.
Right, we don't want it to fall on the floor.
You don't want it to fall on the floor.
Respect the bread.
No, you respect it. There's a certain level, and it brings back to the beginning, is that everything has a certain value in it. And we respect the value of what's in it, not because of what it can do for me, but because it is valuable, right? If I'm full and I'm not going to eat this bread tomorrow, I don't just chuck it. There's a value there. And a person, whether you can do it or not. And the truth is that maybe you can even share. I remember you shared about how a person, the value of a person, what is the value of a person? And, I guess in the world today, it's like, how much does that person add to the GDP, right?
Yeah.
Do you add or do you subtract? And as we're moving further and further and further along, we're having more robots, and right. So I remember when toll booth collectors went out of style, right? They began to, you had a computer, whatever, Easy Pass and all that. And I remember even Abba mentioned, like, wow, like what's going to happen to this person's job? And like whenever we'd go through the toll booth, Abba would always be like, good morning, good evening, and like you appreciate the person who's there behind, but now they're not there. And in America, truck drivers, they're going out of business, and customer service, and so many things. And what's happening is, especially really what's happening is, on some level, what you're able to do, the easier jobs are getting cut out first. And many times, I don't know if this is the only way that people do it, but if you have a certain IQ, right? So if a person with a lower IQ level can do things. They can, bag groceries. They can, and as you work your way up the thing to becoming like, I don't know,
a rocket scientist.
A rocket scientist, exactly. And so there's different things, but sometimes people can't do other things. Now, if a person can't do a job and they're not adding to the GDP, does that mean that they're not valuable anymore? God forbid, right? Every person has such an incredible value. And the truth is, maybe this is showing us how badly we've messed up by valuing people based on what they can do. And we need to go back to the shoresh and say, well, what is a person's value in this world? It's got nothing to do with how much they can produce. Yes, in a healthy economy, we want people to produce. We want to be able to build it up, and we want to be able to have everybody adding in and being a part of the story. But there needs to be a way of measuring a person.
I hate to be cliche, but I really feel it comes down to how much love they give in their own way. And people have their own unique way of expressing love. And I know it sounds so cliche, but you're just saying this. I remember a couple of years ago, someone tweeted at Richard Dawkins about, I don't remember the exact tweet, but it was basically a woman who was pregnant, and they did a test, and their baby was Down syndrome. And Richard Dawkins said, you should abort the baby, because why would you bring a Down syndrome person into this world? You have to be taken care of. I don't remember exactly what his reasoning was, but I remember being so blown away. But how off? Yeah. I was so disgusted. I mean, Richard Dawkins is a brilliant guy, absolutely brilliant. But
how do you not appreciate human life?
I mean, we grew up with our uncle,
sure,
who was Down syndrome. He lived in our house, and he added immeasurably to our lives. And you can ask anyone who has a Down syndrome person in their family how much they give, how much they add to their life. They make our lives so much more quality. They're such loving people, and I was so upset. I remember being upset for weeks after I read this tweet. How messed up! You would abort someone because they're not as smart, and they don't have a.
How could you value a person based on their ability or disability? There's something
ridiculous.
We're back to the shoresh, that essential nature.
So here, I actually found the tweet. He said, there was a woman who said she'd be faced with a real ethical dilemma. She became pregnant with a baby with Down syndrome. And Dawkins tweeted, abort it and try again. It would be immoral to bring it into the world if you have the choice. How backwards, how sick and twisted.
Wow.
It would be immoral to bring it into the world. I can't even.
You clearly have no value of what a human life is. And the truth is that it's something that's unknowable. It's something like I think that laughter that you were talking about, like by the Baal Shem Tov, it's because it's not something that we can actually understand the value. When you look at a person, if all you can see is what they can do for you, oh my God, and sometimes we can mess up and we can do all sorts of mistakes, but we need to value and appreciate the person that's there. I think that one of the most powerful things, I remember you speaking about this, and we definitely jammed about this a lot, but in Judaism, right? So if somebody is dying, so you do anything to save their life, right? And on Shabbos, you violate Shabbos. Even if that person will never be able to keep Shabbos, right? Even if that person's on a level where they're handicapped in any way,
they're in a permanent vegetative state.
Any disability, the existence of a person in this world, the existence of a soul, the existence of a human being in this world there's no way to value it.
It's immeasurably valuable.
Right. And it's phenomenal. It's like we have to just stop and say, I would do anything. And we all would break Shabbos. If it required every Jew in the world to break Shabbos to save this person, we would. Even though Shabbos we would die for. But here it's the value of appreciating that human being in this world, appreciating that neshama in this world, appreciating that space, that untouchable space. But this is what it is. And to look around and not to see people for what they are. Mm-hmm. Even without understanding it, even without knowing why. You can't break it down in the lab.
No, definitely can't. It definitely has something to do with just essential humanity of another. Just something there. Yeah, this is part of the Jewish mission in the world. I remember listening to a lecture by Ken Spiro. You can find him on H.com. He was talking
historian.
Yeah, he's a historian. He's how do you say an historian or a historian? I always get that messed up, but who cares? That's neither here nor there. But he was talking about it in the ancient world. It wasn't the same value that we have for human life. And for example, in the pagan worlds, like if a child was deformed or disabled, they would just leave it out to die. And
on some levels also because of the need for survival, meaning sometimes like you simply you even see it like let's say among animals, right? Why does an animal leave behind because there's only so much it's only in a place of scarcity maybe that you have to make choices, uncomfortable choices like that.
Right, but Judaism came along and we say no, every life is valuable, and even though it looks like counterproductive to life, and no, we value everyone. Every baby is valuable. Every fetus is valuable. And which world would you rather live in? Right? I know I'd rather live in the world where people are valuable and we care for others.
Wow.
And the weak are there for us to care for, to become better people. That's what we're all about. We're about opening up to others and becoming better by assisting others, by dealing with things which maybe are difficult for us. And the same thing with loving other people. The only way we can become better people and become a society that can have Mashiach consciousness is we have to learn to appreciate and value others, their essential goodness, and also their non-essential goodness, the things they do as well, and find the good parts of their culture and the way they live. And that's the only way we're going to make this country move to take the next step forward, and God willing, the whole world take the next step forward.
Yeah. Jump to the next step. Yeah, that's really where we're going, because we're moving way beyond past. We're living in such a place of abundance, in such a world of abundance. We have to redefine what it means to be a human being. What is the value?
Valuable, yeah.
How do you value things? It's cool. It's like we're going back to the Garden of Eden, and you have a choice of being, man for thousands of years is kind of been based on, like the sweat of your brow, you're going to earn your bread, and that's kind of we've gotten so comfortable with saying, okay, so what do you do? What do you do for a living? And that's like what you do has become the definition of who you are, and status symbols and your social symbol. Like all this becomes the the expression of what your value is in this world. Now we're going back to Adam Rishon, where when he was in the Garden of Eden, he wasn't doing anything. So what are you going to be? Are you going to be going to go back to being the snake, not appreciating value and others for what they are? Are you going to drop down to the level of animal, or are we going to rise back to the true essential value of Adam?
And I feel like recently we were sitting with some other Raice brothers and sisters, and we were talking about AI.
Right.
How eventually, and it's not the too distant future, like you were saying, is that imagine the world where all of our food, clothing, shelter is taken care of by artificial intelligence, and kind of like Andrew Yang,
right?
He wants to give back a dividend to everybody. If AI is taking away people's jobs, so then let's give back a dividend to everyone. We all deserve to take part of it. But I feel like he's cutting everyone short. He's selling us short. Like $1,000 a month is nice and everything, but eventually we're going to get to a point where everything is taken care of.
How are you going to spend your time?
How are we going to spend that? What are we going to do? And in my head, to me, I think of Mashiach as the greatest therapist ever. And nowadays there's a flowering of therapy. It started close to 100 years ago, around 100 years ago, with psychotherapy with Freud and Jung and Adler. And they started coming out and started exploring the psyche and we moved on to becoming emotionally healthy. Emotional health is old. Right? Every religion has.
We're all talking about it, but yet we're the generation that's suffering the most from anxiety. We're the generation of anxiety. That's where we're at.
That's true, because now we have the time to deal with it. I feel like if you look at it from a spiritual point of view, up to 150 years ago, before the Industrial Revolution, most people were basically just struggling to survive.
You can't think about thriving when you're thinking about surviving.
Exactly. But nowadays, when there's such abundance in the societies definitely we grew up in, and God willing, it's spreading to other countries in the world. It's spreading all over. I mean, people are being lifted out of poverty. Right, Jordan? I was just listening to a podcast of Jordan Peterson. He quoted, I don't remember the exact thing, but we could look it up. But he quoted some ridiculous number of how many people are being raised out of poverty on a regular basis. That the UN had a projection of how many people they want to raise out of poverty 20 years ago. They had this projection over the next 20 years, and they beat it.
Wow.
And we beat it. So there's so many people being lifted out of poverty. Whatever the definition of poverty is, whatever, regardless. But the point is, it's spreading in the world, and people are now able to deal with our emotions that we weren't able to deal with before. We're able to focus on mindfulness and emotional health and emotional balance. And to me, that is Mashiach consciousness coming into the world. Okay, AI is going to take care of all of our needs. What are we going to do with ourselves? People die if they don't have jobs. But you know what? What if we were able to focus on being emotionally healthy and being able to and have the time and space to become better people and to learn how to love and to learn how to give?
I think that we also can explore even more. Meaning, when you have a guy who if he loses his job, then he's not being able to make his monthly payments, and now he's going to have to drop back. So he's not going to. He might have a great idea of something that can really enhance the lives, the quality, value, whatever it means to him. But he has something that can really help people around them.
Creativity, art.
But he can't do it, because if he takes this risk, if he makes a jump and he falls short, he and his family are going to be back below the poverty level. But if he's getting money, let's say on some level, let's say Andrew Yang's idea, or on some level, right? These are all also different, bigger political issues, but not having to worry about losing, let's say, your medical insurance or things like that, which many countries, and this is obviously a big battle. How much do you want it? There's obviously the values to the capitalist structure. There's values to having certain things.
That's true. But the only way it's going to work is if there's a complete paradigm shift in our consciousness of what is the goal in the world. Then it would make sense. Free healthcare for all, and all the programs that are necessary.
Right, a certain base level, meaning there's a certain base level of things that there's a net, so to speak, to catch you. And even though there's a deep value, right? Meaning you want the best doctors being doctors, and you want there to be a deep value in it. However, you also want we can have, as we have more abundance, there could be a greater net for people. Now, there are some people that are going to take advantage of it, right? And they're just going to, sit there with Cheeto dust on their sweatshirts and playing video games all day. And unfortunately, we're going to have more people that are going to help them and help them realize their inner value and their inner worth and things like that. But on the other hand, you'll have people that will be able to get out there and take risks and be able to shine. Maybe something, you have a guy who's working, a factory job, barely surviving. Maybe now he can take the risk and actually, looking to get that degree that he wanted, or study something that he wanted, or be able to help people, or get out, and do something more than what he was doing. And it just raises the whole quality of life for the whole world, offering incredible opportunities for people.
Yeah. Wow. It's a beautiful vision, It's a beautiful vision. Think of, as a child, your view of Mashiach is so narrow.
Right.
As we get older, it's like, I see this is not some dream. It's not far off. It's actually happening in the world that we live in now.
Yeah, and so many things that are happening were actually spoken about. I think one of my favorite ones was that we say, like, we're going to return to Israel on the wings of eagles, right? So first of all, if you go to any international airport in the world and you're just have even a little bit of childish excitement inside of you, and you look around there, it looks like these huge birds just like pulling up to each gate. It's like, oh my God, this is not wings of eagles, especially for somebody who doesn't have the language, right? You're talking about a prophet 4,000 years, 3,000 years ago. How would you explain this thing? Some, tube in the sky? No, you say, like, it looks like birds, right? And so there was a Gemara, the Gemara says, Chazal, I'm not sure if it was a Gemara, Chazal says that Hashem looks at Am Yisrael. Oh, no, Am Yisrael looks at Hashem. I think it was a pasuk in Shir, and Mishnah, I don't know where it was. And the darshaning the pasuk. It says the Am Yisrael looks at Hashem and says, when are you going to give us Mashiach so we can come and visit you for the three regalim, for Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot? And Hashem looks back at him and goes, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, when I send Mashiach, you guys are going to be coming every month, or some of you will even come every week. And so they asked in the Beis Medrash, it records the question, so how could it be? Like, there's no way to get from outside Israel to the Beis Hamikdash in under a week. Nobody can do it. And so Reb Levi says, we're going to fly on clouds. And so as soon as I heard that, and I learned that, I was like, okay, now it definitely is true. Because when you see that different people are using different terminology because there's no word for airplane in their dictionary, right? So therefore, and that's where we're living now. We're living at a time when you can land on a plane, land on Friday afternoon. You take the high-speed train straight from the airport to Jerusalem. And right now they're making this shuttle. What's it called when it goes like up on, like when you're going up?
Cable car?
A cable car. They're making a huge cable cars that carry 30 people at a time.
But did you hear, even beyond the cable car, they're planning on making a train directly to the old city.
Oh, the cable car is going to go to the Kotel Plaza.
Well, this one, I heard that they're planning on making an underground train directly to the old city.
Oh, so maybe
from Ben Gurion.
Oh my God!
They're going to extend it all the way to the old city. You can come land in Eretz Yisrael and boom, get on a train. Half an hour later, you're at the Kotel.
It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Yeah. This is where we are, and it's interesting.
There's another Gemara that says that in the Las Lavo, bread will grow on trees, right? Oh, bread will grow on trees? Well, yeah, if you think about, again, using your...
Ask a 4-year-old, where does bread come from? The store.
Right, but think about it. Still someone needs to go and grow it from the ground, but eventually, if you have AI and it's growing things and the entire process will be automated, that's the same thing as bread growing on a tree. It's just, you can't, how are they supposed to say it in the Gemara?
Right, exactly. These expressions, these terminologies are phenomenal. Yeah, I'll tell you, I know we're getting we're getting very messianic, and it's good. I think that we've been saying so many things that I feel like everybody should agree with. I would like to have some things that some people will take a little offense.
A little controversy.
Yeah, a little controversy. So I opened up the Sefer HaChinuch on this past week's parasha, and the first mitzvah is it's obviously bringing a truma, and so he brings down the mitzvah to build the Beis Hamikdash. So he says, well, when's the chiyuv to build the Beis Hamikdash? The chiyuv to build the Beis Hamikdash is when the majority of Jews are in Israel. And this is also a very controversial issue, is what what are the legal ramifications of who's considered a Jew, and what's our majority that we have here. So we have a lot of Jews here in Israel.
Yeah.
And we're definitely really close to having a majority here in Israel. So I've mentioned to people,
the majority of Jews in the world.
A majority of Jews in the world are living in Israel. We're either right on the cusp or we're right there. So, and I've asked people, I haven't been to Temple Mount, I haven't been up to Ahavas, but I have a huge yearning to go. And the one response that I get from people when I mention this that really irks me is they go, "Why would you want to go?" I was looking at them like, "Are you seriously? You know what that?" And so in the chinuch, when he gets right about what does it mean, what is this place for, and why do we have this mitzvah to build a place of mikdash? Obviously, it's not for God. He doesn't need the house. We need it because it says that's the place when we go up there, we can get to a state of alignment. Our heaven and earth can meet. Our neshama, like that experience that you had, was an amazing experience. But imagine that cranked up for everybody. That alignment experience when you come to the base of mikdash and when you have it there. And he says, even b'churbana, just being there, being that place, that's the space in the world, right? We have space, time, and soul. That's the space in the world that we can truly be aligned and connected to Hashem and let it all just come straight through on the soul level, on the mind level, on the heart level, on the gut level, on the physical level. And we can see with that. How do you not want to? Is your soul not screaming out and saying, I need to be by the temple, I need to go to Ahavas, we need to have a base of mikdash. Mm-hmm. And okay, so there's all sorts of issues, and fine, I'm down for that. I have no problem, and I'm not disagreeing with anybody. But anybody who doesn't even have a ratzon, like, let's talk about this. Let's open this up, This is geulah,
Yep. May it be soon, man. May it be soon. I also have a vision. I have that messianic vision of being together. I once had a dream. I must have told you this dream. I once had this dream. It was a small dream. I was in this shul here on Mapei Shemesh. It was a really big shul. Everybody I knew was davening in this one shul. It's a really good feeling. Shabbos morning. And everyone I knew in Mapei Shemesh was all in this one shul. It was big, big shul. And then at the end of davening, we finished, and then spontaneously people broke out in dancing. In all different parts of the show, people were just dancing and singing, and separately in their own little circles. And it was just a vibe of, wow, everyone's here and everyone's giving each other space to be. It was really, really cool. And that's my vision of Beis HaMikdash. A place where we come together and we're different, but we appreciate each other and we value each other, and we look at one another and go, maybe I think it's time to wrap it up, because I know you're not feeling well, and I'm not feeling so great either. But I want to finish up with this. This is a practice that I've shared with you in the past, but I want to share it with our friends and listeners. During Birkas Kriya Shema, we suddenly start talking. The first bracha, we thank Hashem. We recognize the greatness of the sun and the moon, the luminaries Hashem created, talking about light and darkness. And then suddenly, somehow we shift into Malachim. And I was like, why are we doing this here? Why is this here in the middle of before Kriya Shema? And then one day I was looking at it and saying, you know what? We start talking about how the angels praise Hashem and daven. Maybe it's because we need to learn how to daven. We need to learn how to be. And so what do we say in the Siddur? We start talking about the angels, and we start saying, V'chulam mekabelem aleihem ol malchut shemayim zeh mizeh. They all accept upon themselves ol malchut shemayim, one from another. Why one from another? You accept ol malchut shemayim from Hashem. Why are you accepting it from one another? Why are the angels accepting it? It's because they look at one another and say, you have a unique, beautiful way of serving Hashem. I want to accept your way and value your way and learn from your way. Right? So v'chulam mekabelem aleihem ol malchut shemayim zeh mizeh. You look at your friend and you say, hey, you have a beautiful way of doing things and a way of looking at things. I can accept that. And not only that, then they give permission to one another. They give space to one another. They say,
be your way, I can be my way.
Right? What's the classic thing? The classic joke is like, anyone who davens longer than me is so from. Anyone who davens shorter than me is such a shagitz. But no, The angels give space to one another and say, you do it your way. To praise it, to sanctify Hashem. I give you space to sanctify Hashem in your way. And how do we do that? With nachat ruach, with calmness of spirit, pleasantness, safa barura, with clear communication. Right. We speak to one another. We say, communication. We communicate with one another. Safa barura, clear speech. We communicate. Say, I dig you. Tell me about what you're doing, and you give me the space that I can tell you what I'm doing,
and I can be okay with me doing my thing, even though you're doing something different.
With pleasantness. And then what happens? Kedusha kulam ke'echad. Then we could all be one, even though we're different and we each have our own way. But then we could really be one. Kulam ke'echad onim va'omim v'yira kadosh kadosh kadosh. And so the practice is, and I do this every day when I daven. I look around the room when I say this. The chulam makablim. I look around and I go, "You're cool. You're cool. You're cool. I dig you. You're different, but I dig you, man. I like your vibe. Nice hat." But just think, whatever it is, you think about it, and then you go, and you know what? You don't have to be like me. We're all good. We could be different. And then, you smile a little, and I told my friends that, all right? We do it together in shul. We've told our friends about it, and it becomes a thing in shul where we look around at one another and we go, yeah.
And even people that have no clue what you're doing, they feel good when you get a look from Yaakov and shul.
Right, today I do it every day when I daven for the Amid. I daven for the Amid all the time. Today I was davening for the Amid. I turned around, and because people notice your voice when you turn, because you sound different when you're facing them, people look up at me, and I just look at them, and I'm like, "You're good. How you doing? You're good. How you doing? I dig you." So it's actually one of those things that somebody taught me years ago. A friend of mine taught me that when you daven for the Amid, you need to look around the room first, and you look at them because you're the shliach tzibur, you're the shliach of everybody. And if you have something against
the Maran in Raice Brothers,
yeah,
the Ahavas that we talked about in the beginning,
exactly, and Reb Nassim expands on this in Hilchas Tefillah in the Shliach Tzibur, so it's definitely worth learning. But he said you got to look around the room, look at every person, and just accept them for a second, and recognize that you're their shliach, and you have to value them on some level. So even if you don't like the person, and there's sometimes people in shul, like there's people I can't stand because they're annoying. And we all have that. There's annoying people. But a few things. First of all, recognize that at their essence, they're good. They're valuable. They're they're a person. They have what to give. Maybe I don't recognize it, and that's probably just a fault in me, but they're valuable. Secondly, in every person, you can find something good.
And something annoying.
Yeah, you can find something annoying in everybody. But you know what? The more we train ourselves to look for good, the more we find something good in somebody, in everybody.
You choose the reality with the person. You could choose the difference to be the definition and to be the way that you want the relationship to be between the two of you. Or you can say, the fact that he's annoying me, but I still don't have to allow that to be the defining character trait in this person, or the defining point that my perception of this person is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Just look at them,
non-judgmental,
value them, and then it creates such a bond among the people that are davening together, because minyan is not just I feel so strongly that minyan is not just a place where you can only say davar shebekdusha if you have 10 people together. Why? I don't know, but I don't want to talk to any of these people. I don't want to look at them. I feel like when you walk into a shul where you're not greeted and you look at one another and people, it's like, maybe we're doing the letter of the law, but there's no soul in this minyan. But a minyan's all about everyone should be counted. Right, it's a corpse, like we talked about last week. Exactly. But you know what? You want a minyan to come alive? Look around and you're not supposed to greet people before davening or whatever, but look around and value people.
Catch their eye.
Give a smile, appreciate one another, and so we should be blessed to do this every time before we daven, and not just the week before we daven. Every time, Rabbi Yochanan did not let a single person, greet him first. He would greet everybody and everybody he saw. So, that's it. Coming up to Purim. Purim's that time when we need to appreciate each other.
To everybody, appreciate the other guy. Look beyond the mask of what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we spoke about this last week. Gevalt Kevra, this was really special. Thank you. So you picked me up even though I'm not feeling well. I might just have to go get back into bed. But this was really picked me up today. And Bezrat Hashem, even with all difference, we should have a healthy government, and Hashem should bless us with a good economy, and we should just continue down this path towards the ultimate geulah. Bezrat Hashem. Purim, help with the geulah.
Amen. Let it be good. Let it be good. Amen.
Be blessed.